Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Empowering Minds Mental Health Podcast. Today on the podcast, I am honored to welcome Mr. Keith Cole. Keith is a follower of Jesus Christ, a U.S. Marine Corps combat veteran, and a former CPA whose life experiences led him to a deeper understanding of burnout, rest, and God's faithfulness. Through his writing and speaking, he encourages people who are carrying heavy burdens to find renewal and hope in every season. So, Keith, thank you again so much for joining the podcast. And I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you, Dr. Moore. I am elated just to be on your program. And so I want to thank you very much. And I look forward to speaking with you this morning and to your audience as well.
Thank you so much. So, Keith, wait a minute. Do you want me to call you Keith or Mr. Cole?
Keith is just fine.
It is okay. I just want to make sure. All right. So, for those of you who may not be familiar with your story, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it inspired your mission to help people navigate burnout through faith?
Uh, well, first, for uh, for much of my life, I've identified myself um, as a Marine, a provider, uh, a CPA, tax professional, and but in early age, as a senior, my dad died. My dad was a railroader, and so he was, very strong man, taller, bigger, much stronger than me, and but he was only 52 years old, and he died of a stroke. And
Mhm,
as a result of that, my life started uh, quite a rebellious route, and dreams of becoming a minister were certainly left behind. And
mhm,
graduated from high school, went in the Marine Corps, right in the heart of Vietnam. And I went to Vietnam as a machine gunner. I was wounded on three different occasions. Went to the hospital, and from the hospital, then I went back to duty. And my primary duty then was notifying next of kin when their Marine was wounded or killed in action. So it was one trauma event after another. And
mhm,
uh, I never knew too much how to handle that, never learned really until I became quite older. But but I was a Marine. And I loved the Marine Corps when I was in it. I was certainly well disciplined,
mhm,
and I attacked everything. It's the same way. So I identified with the strength that I had that I was taught by the Marine Corps, and it
mhm,
helped me to survive through Vietnam, and it also helped me to survive with the events following that and into my career as a CPA and entrepreneur. But it didn't teach me how to heal. The
mhm,
strength didn't do the healing.
mhm,
And so I eventually with the what I came to believe was that I was burned out.
mhm.
Uh, I pretty much collapsed one evening and turned my life to Christ.
Wow. Your what you just shared is already showing some resilience because burnout is a very common thing. It's very easy to find yourself uh, in burnout, but that helped me too when I decided, all right, Lord, it's it's time for me to dedicate myself to you so you can help me stay on track so I won't be burnout. And that was like the best decision I ever made. I'm glad you made that same decision too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. So when we talk about burnout, so when you say burnout shows up quietly, what did that actually look like in your life before you recognized it for what it was?
Uh, yeah, that's interesting because it's like I was trained that, when things are tough, tough got go.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was the term of uh, PTSD was never recognized by the Veterans Administration until sometime in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a long time after I came home from Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And but it, it didn't arrive all at once. I worked on it. It took effort for me to get that burnout
Mm-hmm.
because it actually it just came to me, the burnout over many years
Mm-hmm.
of the different trauma, which every corner I turned, there was a different type of trauma going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that added up to that. But so, I mean, from the outside, I looked like everybody else. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was like uh, many people didn't realize that on the inside, it was total turmoil. It was totally upside down on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And but my belief was at the time was how I was trained in the Marine Corps. If it's hard, work harder.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I did throughout my life. And then things started to change as I got much older.
Mm-hmm.
And it was uh, the things in my life that brought joy of helping people with the income tax and solving their problems with the Internal Revenue Service. And that type of work meant a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed every moment of that. But that joy started going away, and I
Mm-hmm.
became more irritable. Um, my patience was much shorter, I, and I could tell that I was carrying a lot of stress. I was
Mm-hmm.
carrying unresolved responsibility that was building up. And wi- without controlling that, it got out of hand somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I realized there was a toll being taken.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, it's just simply tired. And so I'd work harder.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, I was depleted.
Yeah. I I realized as I got older, a lot of people from my generation, we were taught to keep everything inside, stress, different things we were going through. But as I got older, I realized, you know what, this is not healthy. And so it got to a point in my life around 2013 or 2014. I was a lot like you. I still got to go to work. I still have to do this. I have to push harder. I have to push harder. It took me from a size 8 to a size 4 in a
Wow.
matter of months. I
Wow.
started having like neurological problems. And so, problems with my joints, my muscles. So, I always try to educate and encourage people, listen, do not ignore those symptoms because your body gives you symptoms. I just chose to ignore them. Like you said, being irritable all the time,
Yes.
just kind of cranky, fatigue all the time. And and so again, I encourage people, do not ignore those symptoms. And if you feel like you need to get some medical attention, whether if it's in your physical health or mental health, you definitely need to go, because that kind of burnout impacts both mentally and physically. So the same way people go for a physical checkup, I tell them, you you need to go for a mental checkup too. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to protect your mental health.
Sure.
Yeah. So you've spoken a lot about strength and your training in the Marine Corps. And so believing that strength meant pushing through no matter what, at what point did that start to shift your mindset?
The push through,
Hmm.
knowing that I had to push through, I had to do more. Uh, like I said a moment, that it was if I felt tired, so I'm not working hard enough. There's
Hmm.
something not quite right with me that why should I be tired? And
Hmm.
so, uh, but the Marine Corps taught me to push, and
Yeah.
and no doubt it saved my life working, going to combat, going through combat.
Hmm.
Um, that strength also helped me to uh, go to the door of the family of a deceased Marine to notify the parents or a young bride
Hmm.
that their Marine's not coming home. And
Hmm.
but that was actually taking a toll. I guess I kind of knew it at the time that it was that my strength wasn't enough to uh, survive, to work through these type of ordeals.
Hmm.
And um, that's when I finally turned to Christ for his strength to help
Hmm. That's the best strength you can ever have, because
me.
I guess a lot of us at some point in life try to rely on our own strength. And in the end, we realize, yeah, I'm not as strong as I thought. So I'm very thankful to the Lord every day for his strength, because now my strength is recognizing that when my brain needs a break, that's what I'm going to do. And so I try to do a little bit of self-care every day. That might be through, well, it's not might every day. I read my devotional, my scripture. I pour back into myself every day. I don't try to wait until I'm starting to feel those symptoms. I try to be very proactive. So you're right. That is the best strength. So um June is mental health month for men, but this podcast, some of these questions are kind of really for everyone. But
Yeah.
this particular question, a lot of men feel like rest equals weakness. So how do you reframe rest through a faith lens?
Yeah, that's good. Uh, because that's how I always looked at it. Well, I don't need rest. You know,
Yep,
I'm a Marine, for Pete's sake.
right.
And so that certainly was my attitude. And during tax season, you know, overwhelmingly busy. And and so to to do an all-nighter or working uh, was not uncommon.
Hmm.
And when I was younger. As I got older, I quit that nonsense. But in the younger days, I would just push. It's
Yeah,
because why? Because I'm strong. I don't need rest. You know, that's for people who have no strength. But look at me.
yes.
So that was I said stupid things like that. I kind of reminded me of my high school years of some of the stupid things I did. But the uh, which which is like when I left uh, after boot camp and I was assigned to a machine gun. I was told, well, you're going to be a machine gunner because you're smarter. And I thought, oh my, if they think I'm smarter, this Marine Corps is in bigger trouble than I thought. But but the thing with the rest is the rest is what helps us physically to be stronger.
Hmm.
And and that's part of the discipline that I have created, what I wrote about in the book, and that is that rest is a part of one of the 8 steps in the book that I talk about for every everyday occurrence.
Hmm.
That it's not just resting, say on the Sabbath or you got the weekend off, that type of rest, but
Hmm.
it's also the rest in when you're planning your day. You plan the day and you quit it at a reasonable time. You don't have to totally burn everything out in one
Yeah.
day. You can leave at a reasonable time and have time left for family and friends.
Hmm.
And but also during the day. And so I'll have I'll block some time. Generally, it's about 15 minutes at different times in the day where I stop. I find a quiet place and I just relax my mind. I try not to think. Um, I certainly don't read. I don't do anything. It's not a prayer time. It's a time to just relax and to rest.
Hmm.
And and that is very helpful. And that is not a weakness.
It's not.
When I say I need to rest, and if I tell somebody I need to rest, it takes strength to say that sometimes
Hmm.
until you get used to that.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's a uh, surefire way to calm the body and the
Oh, yeah.
mind.
Yeah. Um, Earlier this year, I had bought a planner so I could come up with like a to-do list of daily goals because my schedule is hybrid. Some days I'm in the office, some days I'm at my home office. And so creating that to-do list, it helped me not to feel like it's as overwhelmed. But
Mhm.
around, I want to say February of this year, I started implementing about 15-minute breaks, like you said, when I would complete maybe 2 or 3 tasks. I would separate myself completely from my computer and everything. I would go drink a bottle of
Beautiful.
water. I would go
Yes.
walk for like 5 or 10 minutes just to kind of like reset and refocus. So that was ironic that you said about the 15-minute breaks, but
Yeah.
that helped me because before I would I would take a little break, but I would still be right at my computer or I would still be doing little stuff, not resting. So I've
Yes.
become more aware that after maybe about 4 or 5 tasks, maybe even 2 or 3, depends on if it's time consuming. I need to rest my mind. And that means getting away from work and
Yes.
then come back after the 15 minutes. So that
Yeah,
is good.
that's
Yeah,
excellent. Yes.
it is. Good reset for the brain. So what what does it look like to trust God's faithfulness instead of relying on your own effort, especially when you've been wired just to keep going your whole life?
What happened? What happened after at night in my office, and I just broke down and asked God to forgive me and get me back on the path
Hmm.
because I really wondered where all my life had gone,
Hmm.
and what got me to this point where I'm just totally exhausted. And
Hmm.
and, and from that point, sometime after that, then all of a sudden I realized what I had been missing all my life. And truly, as simple as it may sound, it was peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I had no peace of mind. It was always something. There's always a fire to put out. There's something to do. There's something to work harder on, something to push again. And
Mm-hmm.
and through prayer and reading scripture,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that all changed, and it just became very peaceful. And I am totally have peace of mind. And if I get edgy, and then I
Mm-hmm.
have favorite Bible verses that I always turn to, and I can take a moment just to pray, which you can do anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think it was late 2018 or either early 2019. Um, I kept dealing with some issues of burnout to the point that I was in the hospital for close to about 2 weeks,
Uh,
dehydrated, uh,
mhm,
blood work, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was everything was abnormal.
mhm.
So it was impacting my mental health and my physical health. And so spending that time there was it was quiet. And it was at that point, that's when I realized I had to have a come to Jesus meeting per se. And it
Yes,
was at that time I realized, you know what? I'm gonna have to totally rely on God's faithfulness. I'm gonna have to totally rely on his peace because as a result of me trying to depend on my own strength, this is where I'm at.
you're right.
So I, I try to educate and encourage others because I don't want them to get to that point where they are physically admitted to a hospital for rest. Get your
Yeah,
little
sure.
rest every day, like you said, the 15-minute breaks. Step away,
Mhm.
reset your mind, and then come back. And that is it's actually a healthy coping skill, and it's definitely very healthy for your brain as well.
Yes, very much
Yeah.
so.
Yes, sir. All right. So my last question for the man watching this a little bit later on today, who feels tired but won't say it out loud, what would you want him to hear today? Like what resonating thought?
I'd I'd want him to know that exhaustion is not weakness,
Hmm.
and that burnout is not failure.
Hmm.
Uh, you don't have to carry, and this is very important. You don't have to carry everything alone,
Hmm.
right? And so, uh, I think the strongest thing a man can do is to admit that you're struggling.
Yep.
It that sometimes is difficult, but
Hmm.
it is definitely a show of strength. And it's uh, through my life and the difficulties that I pushed through
Hmm.
and stuff, that took strength. But you want to know real strength? That's to get on podcasts like yours
Yeah.
and tell the world that
Mhm.
you needed help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And um, so it definitely is it is not a weakness um, to be exhausted
Hmm.
um, or to have, and burnout's not a failure, but asking, please don't do it alone.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. So Oh, before we leave, I know you've written a book, and so I want to leave you a few moments. You can talk about your book, where people can purchase your book from. You can also share your contact information. You never know, somebody may want to book you for, whatever around your book or whatever. And so I want you to share that information as well.
Okay, well, thank you. Uh, so the book I wrote is Burnout, God's Recovery Plan. And it's I took my memories, starting at high school through the Marine Corps, and then my mother died, and I became guardian of a younger brother and sister when I was 23. Got out of the Marine Corps to
Mm,
do that, and then finally got through college. Took a long time, but I got through. Became a CPA. Went into business for myself. Had a lot of stress. So the whole turmoil of many years, and which was never dealt with.
mhm,
Um, and and so that's what the book has, those memories, and it has those battles, and it has the pain that I went through, and it also has the redemption. But
mhm,
I took those and I poured those into a fictional Marine that I called Kevin Casey. And so the story is, which one of the reasons it helped me to be able to write uh, to certain details of that came because I was writing about Kevin Casey and took me out of it.
mhm,
But it's still it's my memories and my pain and my redemption that Kevin Casey is living.
mhm,
And and so at the end of the book, there's a workbook. And so the workbook is a discipline. And so it has 8 different elements to it. Uh, like we talked about you with your work with your your to-do list that you were working on. And so the very first thing on that is the action to take on a daily basis. But you take the action, you write those, these are the items I'm going to do today, but you do them in prayer with God's guidance, and you
mhm,
put those down. And so you don't have to do everything today, and
mhm,
it helps that under control. But the 8 different steps in this discipline is that each one is backed, is grounded in Scripture. So there's a Bible verse or two for every one of those steps. Those steps go through for uh, every day of the week for 7 days. And then on the second week, they change
mhm,
so that it's the same, the steps are the same, but the scripture changes. And it goes through for 12 weeks. And it creates this discipline that, as we talked about, of peace of mind.
mhm,
It truly, because now God is in control. As you're going through and you're listening your actions and prayer and reading scripture,
mhm.
uh, and through each one of those steps, you're getting that vision. Everything's on Amazon, but you can go to my website, which is recoverybyfaith.com. And so as recoverybyfaith.com, you can go to the website and you can there's other resources there, but where you can buy the book and the workbook are there. And so it's that's the best way to go. Just go to the website, and
Mhm.
there's different bookstores and things that have it. All the Christian bookstores have it, and uh, and then of course Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Right. So First, I want to thank you for your prior service, and I want to thank you again for agreeing to come on to the podcast. So, God gave me the name, the Empowering Minds Mental Health Podcast, some time back, and I didn't understand it at the time um, when He gave me the name. But as I've grown the podcast, I understand better now because that's exactly what I'm trying to do to empower and encourage someone else. And so I thank you for providing education today because there's so many stigmas around mental health. There's so many stigmas around asking for help. And I tell people all the time, the biggest win is when you ask for help. You're not winning when you kind of like suffer in silence and there are different resources to help you. So I just always encourage people, listen, please tap into resources. If it's something I can do, if I'm local to you and you need a ride, I
Mm.
will either take you or I will pay a bus fare for you to get wherever you need to go to get you some help and support. So I thank you again for your pour today. This has been a good podcast.
Great. Thank you. I'm very grateful to you, Dr. Moore, for everything that you're doing with this
Thank you.
program. I'm really grateful that you allowed me to be on the program with you today.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, it was nice to virtually meet you, and I'll be in contact with you a little bit later on today.
Wonderful. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.